Today's episode is sponsored by Squarespace. If you want to try building your own website on Squarespace to see what their powerful platform can do for your business, check out squarespace.com for a free trial. And if you like it, and if you want to launch that site that you just built during that trial, go to squarespace.com/filmroom to save 10% on your first purchase. The Patriots have done it again. Like the annoyingly patient hunters that they are, they sat back, they waited, they stayed true to their plan, and months after the normally frenzied free agent period in March where they lost Tom Brady to the Buccaneers, they replaced their former MVP quarterback with another MVP that has something to prove. Obviously, we can't guarantee that Cam Newton's going to be healthy this coming season, or that he'll be able to learn the offense fast enough to start at first, but I can guarantee that just from a pure football perspective, Newton is a perfect fit for this Patriots system. New England traditionally have been one of the few offenses around the league to not just thrive with the quick passing game, but to build their whole identity around it. And Newton himself is by far at his best as a quarterback when he's operating one of those wide open, up-tempo, quick passing attacks. And I know that may come as a bit of a surprise to some of you because when we think of Cam, we think of his rocket arm, we think of some of the crazy deep shots he's thrown while falling away from his receiver, and sure, he's absolutely capable of stuff like that because of his natural talent, but on the whole, Cam is not a great deep ball thrower and he never has been. Even back in 2018, in the 8 games before his shoulder injury, which was the last time we saw a truly healthy Cam, his adjusted completion percentage on deep balls was only 43.5%, good for 19th in the league, even though his overall adjusted accuracy on all throws was 7th in the league at 78.4%. Those errant deep balls dragged him way down in his overall numbers because he just flat out wasn't good at them, but when he was in his comfort zone working underneath in the quick game with timing and anticipation, there was almost nobody better, and the Panthers offense as a whole benefited from that. Remember that the 8-game stretch that I'm referring to was in his first 8 games under Norv Turner, and Turner brought with him a huge philosophical change in the passing game to prioritize all of the spread and quick game stuff that Newton does so well. In fact, he focused on quick passes and maintaining balance with a strong run game so much that in those first 8 games with Newton, he was dead last among all starting quarterbacks, even among some backup quarterbacks too, in terms of the percentage of passes he threw down the field. Only 8.7% of his passes went further than 20 yards past the line of scrimmage, which is insanely low, but as a result of that focus on the quick game, Cam's efficiency drastically improved over his historical averages. As I mentioned earlier, he was 7th in adjusted completion percentage, 10th in passer rating, 27th in sacks taken, which is a good thing, and his percentage of dropbacks where he was under pressure was only 32.3%, which was 22nd in the league, also a good thing. As a unit, the Panthers were top 10 in red zone trips per game, 5th in red zone scoring percentage, top 10 in average time of possession, and 4th in average turnover margin per game. Some of their raw passing stats went down, obviously, because they ran the ball 45% of the time, which was the 7th most in the league, and their yards per attempt went down as well because they just weren't pushing the ball down the field as much. But Turner's conscious focus on making Cam efficient rather than flashy led to him playing some of the best games of his career. Carolina started that season with a 6-2 record, and if a hard hit from TJ Watt didn't completely screw up Cam's shoulder halfway through that season, they probably would have challenged for a playoff bye and went really far in the postseason too. But alas, we never really got to see what could have come from this new version of Cam Newton. Well, that is, we never got to see it until now. In New England, Josh McDaniels is going to prioritize all of the same things that Norv Turner did. Quick passes, a heavy dose of the run game, and most importantly, giving Newton freedom at the line of scrimmage. I've said before many times that just from a pure decision-making and defense reading standpoint, Cam is one of the smartest quarterbacks in the league. If you let him spread you out and find matchups, he'll pick you apart all day long just with his brain because he's friggin' brilliant, and the Patriots are going to give him more control at the line than he's ever had before. In McDaniels' system, which is a variation of the Erhardt-Perkins offense, quarterbacks are basically an extra coach on the field. They handle protection calls, they have total freedom to adjust any route or any half-field concept as they please just by shouting one word or giving one hand signal, and because of how modular their offense is, to the point where they can run any play at any time out of any formation or personnel grouping, Cam's brain is going to finally be unleashed. I know that he gets a lot of flack from some really ignorant media commenters because of how he dresses or the font he uses on Instagram or whatever, but trust me, Cam Newton is a straight up genius, and Josh McDaniels is going to let him do what he does best. But beyond Newton's fit on this team in terms of just pure passing skill set, the thing that Cam brings to the table that Tom Brady never did is the ability to make plays off schedule and give the offense a +1 advantage in the run game on every single snap. It goes without saying that Newton is far more athletic than Brady ever was, and his athleticism and the ability to escape pressure is one of the main reasons why his pressure to sack conversion rate was extremely low, meaning the rate at which pressures were converted into sacks against him. For example, going back to that healthy 8-game stretch in 2018, Newton was pressured on 96 dropbacks during that time, but he only took sacks on 12 of them for a sack conversion rate of 12.5%. Good for the third lowest rate in the league. Brady was 9th in the league at 14.6%, largely because of his ability to navigate through pressure and get the ball out quickly as well. But even then, the reason why Cam was even harder to sack than Brady was because beyond just throwing it quickly, Cam brings that extra little bit of physical dominance that Tom never could. And like I said, in addition to the value that Newton has to escape pressure and make something out of nothing, Cam also gives Josh McDaniels another big advantage that he has rarely ever had during his play calling career: extra numbers in the run game. If you can leverage a mobile quarterback to give your offense a numbers advantage in the box, or at the very least just even up the numbers in the box if the defense drops a safety down, it makes running the football in key situations a hell of a lot easier. Again, the Patriots don't have to always do it because just the threat of Cam taking off can be enough to make things easier on Sony Michel or James White, but there are going to be 4 or 5 situations a game, all likely in the red zone or when the offense is in a hole, where McDaniels is going to use Cam's ability as a runner to give New England a numbers advantage that he can then exploit to get back on schedule. Take this play from week 1 of 2018 against Dallas, for instance. It's 2nd and 17, they got backed up by a holding call, and it's situations like this one where you just need a play that can work to get yards and set up an easier third down to keep the drive going. These are the kinds of moments where Cam's mobile skill set can turn a possession or even a whole game around. The Panthers are running a play called Power Read here, which I'll diagram in a second, but I want you to focus on something else really quick before we get into that. Carolina starts out in an empty backfield with Christian McCaffrey split out wide, and they're doing that because they want to see who goes out to cover him. If it's a linebacker like Jalen Smith here, then that's a pretty reliable indicator for man coverage, which is what Newton wants to see. Now, why would he care what kind of coverage Dallas is in on a run play? Well, it's because man coverage means that none of these DBs are going to be looking into the backfield and reading run keys, like they would be if they were in zone. All of these Panthers receivers are releasing outside towards the boundaries, and because the Cowboys are in man, that makes the whole Cowboys secondary also mirror to the outside. Nobody is looking at Newton until it's too late because of the kind of coverage they're in, and he ends up picking up 16 yards to set up a 3rd and 1, which of course they did end up converting. So that's why on a lot of QB runs this season, you're going to see McDaniels build in motions and other formation indicators because those coverage indicators can tell Cam if the play is going to work or not before the ball is even snapped. Now, from the end zone angle, in terms of the actual play design, again, you see the Cowboys being +1 in the run fit, meaning they have more defenders than the Panthers have blockers. But with Newton being the ball carrier on a power read instead of McCaffrey, now you can account for all 7 defenders. 6 of them will be blocked, while the 7th, Sean Lee, has to stay disciplined and play McCaffrey. Hell, the Panthers even screwed up and didn't block Dorrance Armstrong to begin with, which was a huge unintentional mistake, but because of the action to McCaffrey and all the moving parts to this run, and of course because of Newton's athleticism too, that didn't matter and he still got out of there to rip off a big gain. This is the kind of stuff that Josh McDaniels has rarely ever been able to turn to when the Patriots were dug into a big hole, because Tom Brady, as you're all well aware of by now, runs like he's a baby giraffe that's still trying to figure out what legs do. This was never an option before, but now it is. Whether it's power read, GT read, inverted veer, zone read, any of the triple option stuff, or even just taking off to run on a well-covered naked bootleg, all of that the Patriots have never really been able to do. The only time I can remember New England ever being able to incorporate some designed quarterback runs into their game plans was back in 2016 when Jacoby Brissett played in a few games as their third string starter, and McDaniels was very effective at incorporating Brissett's mobility. Hell, during that stretch of 4 games without Tom Brady that season, the Pats even managed to beat my Texans 27-0 while running the ball 39 times and passing for just barely 100 yards on only 11 completions. Brissett was not a good passer at all at that point because he was still a pretty raw rookie, but New England still managed to go 3-1 over that time period, which included 2 games against playoff teams. Trust me, this style of offense can work in New England. It already has worked multiple times, and McDaniels made that success happen with a quarterback that was nowhere near as good a passer as Cam. Both the Panthers when they had Norv Turner and the Patriots under Bill Belichick understand what Newton is, and they understand how to win with him, using an up-tempo, spread passing game that dinks and dunks its way down the field, letting him have freedom at the line to get in and out of plays as he sees fit, and incorporating his mobility into the run game in high-leverage situations like short yardage or in the red zone. In this system, he'll be Clark Kent a lot more often than he'll be Superman, but that's okay. Newton always had a reputation for putting the team on his back in the early days in Carolina, and to a degree I suppose that helped him to have a lot of success, but it also led to a lot of failure, a lot of injuries, and a lot of disappointment too. What the Patriots understand, and why I think they're going to be just as good as ever with Newton in tow, is that if your quarterback has to be Superman all the time just to win a game, then your team and your coaches probably aren't very good. New England understands winning team football. They understand how to make the right decisions at the right time, how to use their strengths to maximum effectiveness, and how to give Cam his hero moments, but only when they really need them. They don't need Cam to be Superman all the time because they're a good, well-coached team, and that's unfortunately something that Newton has not gotten to experience for most of his career. There's a reason the Patriots made this signing happen. There's a reason why Cam took a dirt cheap contract to be there. This is going to work, and they all know it. Trust me on that. If you thought the Pats' reign of terror over the AFC East was finally over just because of the loss of Tom Brady, then you really haven't been paying attention. It's not over. It was never over. And if anything, Superman coming to New England tells me that it won't be over for a long, long time. Thank you for watching this week's episode, and thank you to our sponsor for the week, Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform for building an amazing online presence for your business or portfolio. Every one of their dozens of templates supports all major forms of content, including pages, galleries, blogs, merch shops, event calendars, and more. Plus, beyond just configuring third-party domains, you can even use Squarespace to purchase domains directly. Over 200 different types of domains are available, and each domain comes with a parking page and free Whois privacy. I personally just finished making my new website for the channel so that I can keep my podcast, my YouTube videos, my business contact information, and a future merchandise store all in one place, and I absolutely love it. I'll have a link to that in the description, and I'm going to keep working on it going forward, but even with just me having zero web design experience and not knowing what the hell I was doing, I think it made a really cool site for my brand. If you want to try building your own website on Squarespace to see what their powerful platform can do for your business, check out squarespace.com for a free trial. And if you like it, and if you want to launch the site that you just built during that trial, go to squarespace.com/filmroom to save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain. Again, thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's show. And as for me and channel news, I will finally be getting around to the long-awaited Daniel Jones episode this coming week. I know it's been quite a while, and Giants fans, you have been very patient, but trust me, that's coming. And I'll also finally be wrapping up the Draft Recap podcast series over on the Bootleg Football Podcast channel, with that last division being the NFC West, so check that out too. There's lots more to get to this July, and hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have some actual training camps to talk about. Fingers crossed, but yeah, we'll see where we're at. And until then, later.